Insist we won't vote on December 7 until the date is changed. Why? Because at the end of it, all right, if you don't want to exercise it, I'm sorry. But because then what they are saying is they are opening a floodgate. My good brothers in Islam will also come and say that Friday is our sacred day, so we can't vote. Then I'm sure the traditionalists, we have the Buddhists and the Hindus. There are people who do different things. So, they be sorry. I think you just have to one day. Come on, you can sacrifice. God will understand. God will understand that you are picking a leader to come and lead you. If you don't go, it's like what Gabi said. Yes, it's like what Gabi said about I think a constituency where Gabi said that so the people said they won't vote. The people said they won't vote if Akufo-Addo doesn't fix their rules or something like that. Then the Gabi said okay. So they said they won't vote at all. So that means they won't vote for either NDC or MPP. They won't vote. Let them be there. Other people will vote. If you won't vote, it's all right. If you finish your exercise, all right. Anyway, these are the topics for our conversation this morning. I've been joined in the studios by the Don. The Don, how far?
We did inside.
I lied. You are still my friend.
It's you.
You are still my friend.
But for the rain.
Well, you are not his friend.
Yeah, I like that. On TV is all right. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How's the constituency?
It's doing
I trust you are well.
Yeah, I'm doing
well. You're
well.
looking fresh.
Yeah, I've had a
and
lot of
less tired.
Exactly.
The constraints in the pocket as a result of the commitment to service was quite draining.
Of course.
Sorry, Kafra.
Of course.
But you are still doing it.
Oh,
in the constituency.
Oh, yes, I still do.
I'm told you still pay school fees, etc.
I currently have more than 75 students on scholarship.
Wow.
In all our universities, including DTI, that is doing wonderfully well. And I think that is something that government should be looking at in terms of our public schools. Why do we get everybody into the mainstream when there are other avenues that can do well? I was surprised to see these young folks of ours building a nice drone.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
we have the talent here. If we invest,
we must rethink our education.
My senior at the bar and senior in the office. Good morning to you, Senior Apia Dankwa. I salute you. I trust you well.
I'm doing great.
Are you sure you're doing great in this economy?
I'm doing great.
Okay, in terms of health.
In terms of health, in terms of my mental well-being, certainly in terms of my pocket.
Okay.
But I'm interested in your Facebook story. You should don't start something.
Senior says he is not Biden. You know what I mean? You are not, your mental state is accurate. You are not Biden.
Yes, exactly. But I'm interested in. So you don't start something you can't finish. You understand? So you're very nice.
You just threw a punch and then.
No, you should land a punch. It's not Gonza. The punch was land.
Behind the curtains.
I know about you started in front of the curtains.
You already feared
it. You said in front of the curtains. You want to take me behind the curtains.
Okay. Good morning, Fisherman.
Good morning, guys.
I don't know, sister.
God is keeping me.
No. I mean, something has been trending on social media. I was not apprised to it. It was my wife who yesterday opened some Facebook thread and introduced me to some sequence or chronology of events which have happened to one of my colleagues. And I think that he was in some discussion or conversation with a lady, and it appears that his response to the lady was in bad taste. So the lady screenshot the conversation and posted it on Facebook. And several other women came out with their own screenshots pointing to the same gentleman. And it does appear that he doesn't treat women well. And so that has been the conversation. And this guy is, I didn't know he was that popular until yesterday. I know him, I've dealt with him, but I didn't know he was that big. According to sources, he was nominated for some Komla Dumo award or something like that. He was expected to win. Yeah, he was no, that big no. I mean popular, okay. Council. So so that's what happened. That's what happened. And people are just using it for breakfast, supper and dinner. And Charlie, it's quite sad. It's quite sad. I mean, sometimes you should know the gentleman. I think he asked of President Mahama whether or not he will be the father for all. He will still be the father for all leader, or he has exorcised himself from that evil spirit of father for all. Do you remember that interview? The gentleman, the question. You don't remember the gentleman. So he's a gentleman in question, and I'm not really interested in people's private matters, but because it's out there, we're all talking about it, and people are throwing shades at him, etc. But I think that he's issued an apology, and I think that the apology should be respected. And
that is the case.
Yes. Yeah. But still, people are saying that his signature looks like his face. Hey! Let's go to Sudan. There's food insecurity in Sudan, and 15 countries have agreed to tackle food insecurity in Sudan. I don't know where on this continent that there's no food insecurity. And but it appears that the issue in Sudan has some magnitude, which has caught the attention of some other African countries, or some other countries who have decided to come to their aid. Notably, we're looking at United Arab Emirates, we're looking at Uganda, Jordan, and Nigeria. They have expressed deep concern over escalating food security crisis in Sudan, warning of an imminent risk of famine. In a joint statement released on July 15, 2024, the government described the situation as alarming and unprecedented, citing a recent report by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification. The IPC report, published on June 27, 2024, indicated that 14 months into the conflict, Sudan is facing the worst levels of acute food insecurity ever recorded in the country. The disturbing results in the report reveal an unprecedented level of food insecurity of Sudan, leaving 25.6 million people in high levels of acute food insecurity and 14 areas at risk of famine. The statement read, and the countries are particularly worried about the rapid deterioration of food security and its devastating impact on civilians, including children suffering from severe acute malnutrition. Other countries in this cause are Morocco, Mauritania, Chad, Comoros, Guinea-Bissau, Seychelles, Senegal, Benin, Kenya, Sierra Leone, and Mozambique. I was expecting to see the name of Ghana, but it does appear that even those of us here in Ghana, we are still grappling with the issue of food sustainability. And so we could not extend a shoulder of support to our brothers and sisters in Sudan. But, I mean, we cannot talk about Sudan, without looking at the derivatives of what has led to this unwholesome situation, where they are now having to deal with food insecurity in Sudan. I think that if you look at the foundational blocks, you're looking at the continuous, or rather incessant, war in Sudan, and their inability to resolve their differences is what has brought them here. Because I do know that they are also endowed with some resources, and one would have expected that if they actually made their decisions based on conscience and forthrightness, we will not get to the point where other countries have to come together and extend that support to them. Start with you.
Well, let me greet your viewers. I've been away for some time. I hope they did not miss me that much.
I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yo. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I did more.
You did. Thank you. Today you fly alone. Well, I think that the issues of Sudan should be put in proper perspective. It is sad, you know, that for several decades, Sudan have been used as a begging basket around the world. You'd travel outside this country and you'll be watching television, then you would see food being dropped down from sometimes flights to them, and you see them struggling with flies all over them, and you see networks that says that donate $1 for Sudan so that people can be fed in Sudan and all that. And then at one end, you look at the war that has been fought over the years in Sudan, and you would ask yourself, who promotes this war? Who is financing this war? Who is bringing them these ammunitions? There has been an attempt in the past to split the nation into two. Now we have the northern and southern Sudan, and still the conflict rages on. The money being poured in there, their mineral resources, how is it managed? Well, Africa, of course, or the AU might have failed its member states largely. We can talk of several examples. But is the UN, is the world all together saying that the issues of Sudan cannot be solved? If we really are bent on making sure that such a calamity is stopped, I think people over the years have benefited from Sudan in terms of the war and in terms of raising funds that, for me, I think do not reach the Sudanese. And in that case, nobody is really accountable to anyone. I believe that Sudan has been created for certain people, certain countries, to actually make money off their backs. And that is what it is. At the end of the day, is the AU saying that if Africa, known with its rich resources, known with our very fertile land, we are unable to support Sudan out of this misery they find themselves in, then I think that it is also a huge blunt on the conscience of we Africans as a people. I don't think we should wait for the Western world or the Eastern Bloc to come in and say we are providing a solution. I think we should find an African solution to this. And for once, let those who are benefiting from the war and benefiting from raising funds and throwing food down from flights that are moving, and you have people chasing food all around with flies on them and all that. I mean, it is something I find insulting, because we might say it is Sudan, but anytime I have seen that, picture on TV, I think that it is another way of keeping Africa and our mindset where they want our mindset to be. I think this is deliberate. Whatever is happening in Sudan is deliberate. And if we really have leaders in Africa, I don't think they should watch on for such a thing to happen. Somebody must step up the plate and make sure that that's absolute nonsense is stopped. I don't see why an African should be shown in that manner. And they do it to all of us. They will come to Ghana. They will never go and show the East Legon, the OWUSU and all that. They will go to somewhere, some village, and somewhere in my backyard in some slam and depict Ghana in a certain way and mindset, and this is what people out there in the world buy into. Yet we are here doing nothing about it. I don't see any African leader. I don't see the AU. I don't see, yes, and I think we do have some commitment to the AU and ECOWAS and all that. And those commitments hurt some of us, because we pay import duties, and you are made to pay all sort of levies towards the bloc, the Western bloc and all that. I mean, what is the benefit of all those things? Is it to employ technocrats to go and sit there at the AU and wear nice suit and these days kaftan and call ourselves leaders? Or what? What exactly? We are not a solution to our own self. I don't want to go far and ask those who seek at every instant and point to exploit us for a solution. I will not seek a solution from those who seek to exploit us. What is our interest as Africans to make sure that this continent does not, or is not depicted in that manner? End of story.
Very well. Let me leave it here. Let me come to Senior Piadankwa. I'm just reading about how the war started in Sudan, the recent one. And it's so interesting that fighting broke out in Khartoum, Sudan's capital, on 15th of April 2023, as an escalating power struggle between the two main factions of the military regime finally turned deadly. On one side are the Sudanese armed forces, who remained broadly loyal to General Abdel Fattah, the country's de facto ruler. Against him are the paramilitaries of the Rapid Support Forces, a collection of militia who followed the former warlord General Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, known as Hemeti. RSF was founded by the former dictatorial ruler Omar al-Bashir as an Arab counter-insurgency militia. Bashir wanted to crash a rebellion in the region of Darfur that began more than 20 years ago due to political and economic marginalization of the local population. Initially known as the Janjaweed, RSF quickly became synonymous with widespread atrocities. In 2013, Bashir transformed the group into a semi-organized paramilitary force and gave their leaders military ranks before deploying them to crash a fresh rebellion in South Darfur. I mean, look, I heard of Sudan's war when I was very, very young, extremely young, and I'm still hearing about it now. And I don't know why we are not able to deal with this thing. I just simply don't understand. I can appreciate that, yes, it's power struggle. I can appreciate that in the final analysis, either one or the other would have to benefit from it. But at what cost, at what expense? Look at the damage that is being done to the country. And I'm just seeing horrifying pictures of the country, horrifying pictures of, you know, a sea of people who are gathered looking for help. And if you read another report, they say that they are even told that you are slaves in your own country. I mean, it's so sad, Senior.
Yeah, so let me take this opportunity to wish your lovely viewers a good morning. I must say, I've missed the Don. I've missed his intellect. I think that the last time we met was on Alajan Laji about a month and a half ago, where even though I disagreed, should I say I disagree? I didn't agree with the position you took, because I believe in that, except that I felt that the context of the issue dealt more with what public officers shouldn't do as against what, but in terms of your position, in terms of essentially it's also my position as well. But that's what I remember. I miss his intellect. You must not always agree. It's just about the. And I've already studied. My main man. I still remember the Accra, so the Accra hasn't come. I won't cease to remind you of the Accra.
He didn't send me a flyer. I would have cooked a quick Accra this morning. And,
I'm going to prepare a very nice flyer.
He didn't send me a flyer. If he had sent me a flyer and I knew you were coming, I would have prepared an Accra. So if the flyer had come,
the Accra is best eaten at certain places. So you will do it there. We'll
come there. You don't worry. But you see the beauty of our being here, having a nice discussion and talking about Accra. Our brothers in Sudan unfortunately conducive. You see the beauty, we sit here, we meet, we may disagree, we may have different views, but at the end we have some semblance of freedom. Our brothers in Sudan can do the same, and I think the responsibility first and foremost must be placed on them. Yes, and before we look at the external factors, because what is happening is because Sudan, a very old country, one of the oldest countries in the world, one of the oldest countries in the world, yes, beyond the fact that they were colonized between 1899 and 1956. Largely Sudan, unlike Ghana, where we are a conglomeration of a lot of countries, Sudan has been a country for a very long time. Now, what they're going through right now is because as a people, as a country, they failed to bring the structures, the systems, they failed to build the culture, a right political culture that was going to secure for them their liberties and would put them in a position where there'll be some form of, they'll be indemnified in a way from conflicts of this nature. But I don't think it serves anybody to be talking about why they find themselves here. For us in Ghana, I think we should look at their situation and strengthen systems that will ensure that we do not find ourselves there. Because we can find ourselves there. The kind of society we are building, the kind of culture we are fostering, the kind of parochial political culture we are fostering, where what drives us, what drives our politics is not what is in our collective interest, but essentially what is in our individual interest. You understand? As in, if we do not put a stop to it, we can find ourselves in a situation where there's this chaos, as in there's chaos like there is in Sudan. Because primarily, the reason why they're having food insecurity issues is because of the conflict. Then the question is, but why is it difficult for humanitarian aid and support to be granted them? But the same conflict has destroyed the structures, the institutions that will make it easier for aid to be granted them. And that's why my brother rightly said they are dropping food. And also, Africans need to understand that we are in a competition. The world wants to send a certain picture about Africa because we are in competition with them. You see, essentially, we are all competing for the inflow of cash. At the bottom line is money. We are all competing for people to want to invest in our countries or in our continents. So, for some people, they kill the competition by sending a very dire picture of Africa. And we are not helping it. We, the Africans, we are not helping the situation. I remember when I was in secondary school, and I'll take this opportunity to greet him. There was a gene of mine who was called Ethiopia. That was
his name was Ethiopia.
His nickname was Ethiopia. And why was he called Ethiopia? He was extremely skinny. And extremely skinny. He was called Ethiopia. Yeah, that was his nickname. That was his nickname. Because in the 80s, what was the image of Ethiopia?
My PA is very skinny, so I'll name him
Ethiopia.
Your TA.
My PA.
Okay.
I'm sure the Ethiopian man is watching me now. His first name was Prosper. I don't have the second name. But he was called Ethiopia. That was his nickname. Very, very skinny. Very, very skinny. I'm sure right now he has some flesh. But that time was very, very skinny. You understand? But why, in the 90s, why do we call him Ethiopia? Because the image we had of Ethiopia in the 80s going to the 90s was a country of extremely skinny people because of the hunger that, or the farming situation they face. But that's exactly the kind of image the West wants to put out there about Africa. Because they kill the competition. They kill the competition of where people who have money, excess money, and they are looking for places to invest, who want to bring his money to a place where vultures are hovering around somebody dying, ready to pounce. Unfortunately, that's the picture of Africa out there, and that picture will be out there because of the death of leadership or lack of leadership that we grant our people. You get a picture. So, for me, I think we need a massive introspection. Like a massive introspection. We must look at the whole AU ECOWAS thing, and this to support what my brother's thinking. We must look at the whole, because you see that there are too many stories of situations where African countries in Africa needed help, and we turn our backs on them. Case in point is the Rwanda situation. Or when Rwanda had their issues, as in the issues that led to the genocide and the genocide itself, Africa turned its back on Rwanda.
Except Ghana.
Well, but it was very little support. But at the end of the day, we turned our backs on Rwanda. That led to more than 1 million lives being lost in their genocide. We turned our backs on them. We didn't, the whole world, but especially Africa. You get a picture. So for me, yes, I want to look within, as in, and I want to look outside of Africa because it's not their duty to take care of us. In fact, if anything, they see us as competition. We've been in a competition that we are not even aware of. It's high time, as in, I think the time is now, for Africans to realize that we are responsible for ourselves, and also for our people to understand that when they are choosing leaders, because see, everything is leadership. Everything is leadership. That when we are choosing for leaders, we have serious regard to their character, to their competence. We have regard to their values, what fuels them. Because leadership can make, because as we are talking about Sudan here, but Ghana, we are on the brink of a food insecurity issue. And we're on that brink because of a fundamental lack of leadership. When we were voting for Nana Akufo-Addo in 2016, what was our consideration? It's all of us our collective failure. The failure of Nana is the failure of every single Ghanaian. We should understand that. Because beyond the fact that we did not have serious regard in the choices we made, we are all enablers. In a way, all of us, myself included, we are all enablers in creating that parochial political culture that would enable non-leaders like Nana to emerge. All of us. And so, as in 20 Arista also have a stake. I think that we should, when we are looking at Sudan, as much as we will communicate with them and then hope that we can go to their aid, we should use Sudan as an example of what can befall our nation if we fail to build the right structures, if we fail to build the right institutions, if we fail to build the right culture that will sustain for us the ends of democracy. Because if we fail, then I'll be surprised that Ghana will find itself in a situation where we also become a picture of, once again, a failed African state for the world to laugh at us.
Yeah, I don't know if you've also read this report about the possibility of water shortage in 2030.
Yeah, everything is coming to a see.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know if you are seeing what I'm saying, but me, I'm in serious fear. Because everything is falling apart in this country.
Yeah.
Everything is up. But why won't you have water shortage when you start and allow people galamsey, as in no regard to the environment? Absolutely no regard. And the people who have sat down, the people we did a mistake in putting them in power in the first place, in whom a trust was created to protect our natural resources and our environment. Have sat down and galamsey is destroying all our water bodies. And do you understand that almost every city in this world springs up from around water bodies? Every city. So you talk about Accra itself. The number of water bodies, you understand, because that's the basis for we conglomerating as a people. So when you touch the water bodies, then really when the water bodies are being be to go extinct, then we are going extinct too.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So we have that issue. We have that issue to deal with. But beyond that, so many issues, like I keep on saying, and they may not be tangible, but they are real. The consequence of the lack of faith or belief of the people of Ghana in political leadership, that will come to a head at some point in time. The fundamental loss of credibility of our economy, I'm happy that Don will do a better job at that than I'm doing. But there's a fundamental loss of credibility in this economy. And you see, the economic problems we are going through right now, it's just the start. It's just, if I those days when we used to go to cinema, it's just the comedies. Yeah, it's just the comedies. It's just there's what's it called exchange rate depreciation. It's just the comedies.
You didn't say comedy. You said comedies.
Comedies. My research, you are to those. I used to go to Video City. No, my house was just behind Video City. To send you. No, Video City. So Jima, so my house was right. So we used to share one with.
But then we might have been in the same neighborhood.
Yeah,
because I was also at Apia Dankwa.
But not Apia Dankwa is my father.
That's his father.
Oh,
yeah.
In fact, it is my grandfather who sold the first house Apia Dankwa bought.
For real, you see, so this time, so you see why you see the connection.
But that is why you are telling me that you've missed him. So you are biased in your judgment.
I'm not biased. Those days when we used to go to, I used to miss. For that, I watched Superman. I watched Superman at Video City Sunday afternoon, and before the main action, there's always comedies. What we are facing right now is comedies. It's comedies. You understand? And you see, so unless and until we become intentional in our choices as a people, become really intentional, you understand? And I'm not fooled by, oh, I know him and he's my friend, and oh, you understand? And really place the microscope on people who want to give powers to. Then don't be surprised that 10 years down the line,
all right,
or even sooner, we find ourselves in a similar situation like Sudan. We shouldn't think that it is beyond us.
Well, thank you very much, Lawyer Apia Dankwa. You're still watching the newspaper review segment here on Pan-African Television. May I remind you that we're streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. So you may want to go on Facebook, share your views and thoughts, and we will be glad and willing to read the messages here for you. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/Pan-African Television, and so you can also leave your comments on YouTube as well. We're here in the studios with Register Apia Dankwa and me. Now, there's a particular topic that I will be discussing after we listen to Register's submission on Sudan, which has got to do with the media budget review, but also a topic that I want for us to include in today's discussion has got to do with what I have posted. Why have Ghanaians lost confidence in democracy? Why have Ghanaians lost confidence in democracy? And there are a number of factors that I have highlighted. One of such, or key amongst them, we're looking at electoral disputes and irregularities. We're looking at lack of trust in institutions, winner-takes-all system. We're looking at decentralization and local governance issues, economic and social issues. So let's go to Register on Sudan, and then we will look at the other matters as well.
Well, Sudan's story is a sad one. And you know that people who are in many parts of sub-Saharan Africa trace their migration from around Sudan, which was part of ancient Egypt. And when you go to Sudan today, you find some of the pyramids of ancient Egypt still in Sudan. So it tells you that Sudan has a long historical ties with ancient Egypt. And Sudan also has some natural resources, raising the war between South and North Sudan, and then the breakaway between South and North Sudan. I think maximum they have just about 18 days of rainfall, so in a year. So you don't expect much from them in terms of production in agriculture. But even if in desert Dubai, they are now able to produce. And if in Europe and other places where majority of their time is snowy, they are able to produce for sufficiency, it should be possible for Sudan to produce for themselves. then also, it also makes us see the vision that people like Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah had when they were pushing the African Union agenda, because then there is the need to use comparative advantage in production, so that those who are able to produce grains would then be able to feed those who are not able to produce grain. So that Sudan has some natural resources, a lot of them, including iron ore deposits and others. They could also leverage on their natural resources, and they have some oil as well, and then they can also build their economy. We are talking about war in Sudan, and the hypocrisy of the West always come up when issues of war in our parts of the world come up, because quickly they are the people who say, let's talk peace, let's give them some relief items. But wars are fought with guns. Who produce the guns? The very people who are talking about peace are the very people who produce the guns and sell the guns to the people to start killing themselves. And then quickly they come around and say, let's mobilize and bring some peace. In the first place, if you don't sell the guns to these volatile states, they will not have the resources to engage themselves in a fight. And I'm sure they will sit and talk. So, and guns are not, the bullets you use in the guns, they are not self-renewing, they are not renewable resources. So it means that once you use the bullets, they'll get exhausted. Somebody would have to give you more in order to continue with the war. So if they cut production, the war will automatically end without anybody sitting at the table to talk peace. But the guns always find themselves into those war-torn countries, and more of it go there. Even in our country, people are importing guns, and places like Baku are being supplied on daily basis with ammunition. But the guns pass through our ports and get to the conflict areas for people to use them. So it means that people who are talking about peace are themselves not committed to peace, because they are beneficiaries of the war. That's how they make their money. And so they would want to go behind the scenes and fuel the war, and yet come out and say, oh, these people are starving, and so they need help. Naturally, Sudan cannot be self-sufficient in food production because they do not have enough rainfall. If they have the benefit of the Nile that they could, if it's an organized country, use to do a lot of irrigation and do production, if they manage to treat their lands, because majority, they have a lot of deserts around Sudan, so they need a lot of engineering to be able to do production. So they will automatically rely on a lot of importation when it comes to food, because of the lack of rainfall in that part of Africa. And so, to me, it is, first we need to see the hypocrisy in the system, that we are here talking about a country that is torn apart because of war. And as a result, they are not able to hold a government together that is able to meet the needs of the people. And so they are having challenges with food production. But compared to Ghana, because Sudan needs support, the countries have committed. Countries like Nigeria and others have committed to provide. Even Sierra Leone had committed to support them with food. Why is Ghana not able to support Sudan with food? But we ourselves are not able to produce enough for ourselves. We go to the market and we know the cost of tomatoes. Meanwhile, we import tomatoes and onion from Burkina Faso and Niger. And then they share the same weather condition with the northern part of the country. And then you have vast land around the north that is not under cultivation, nothing is happening there. So the ability for us to even produce for ourselves doesn't exist. We don't have a clear policy in terms of, we've heard about planting for food and jobs, and yet we are unable to marshal young people into the fields for them to produce, for us to be self-sufficient to start with, and then to be able to even get surplus, to be able to send to some countries that are in dire need, like Sudan. And so we need to rethink the whole African Union thing again and set the priorities right. We need to look at what the agriculture policy of the whole of Africa is, what competitive advantage in terms of production that some countries have, and probably get to work on it and see how is it that other countries will be able to produce and produce enough to feed themselves, and then we'll be able to mobilize to feed some other people who do not have. In war-torn Ukraine, they are still able to produce wheat, and we go there to import wheat. We were crying when Ukraine was in war, that because Ukraine was in war, wheat prices were going up, and that bread prices had to go up because Ukraine and Russia were in a war situation. We are not in a war situation. The whole of West Africa has been very peaceful for a long time now. We have enough rainfall, even though we are having distortion and it's becoming a little bit erratic. But we get enough rainfall to be able to open the Akosombo Dam for it to flood the whole of the downstream and get people displaced and killed and their properties destroyed. Yet we are not able to irrigate our own lands to produce for ourselves. So it's worrying when you have some countries in Africa struggling with food, when Africa, Congo, would be able to produce. Congo has a very good climate to be able to produce enough to feed themselves and probably be a food basket. Talk about Cameroon, talk about Nigeria. So we are not people in need. We are not people who should go cap in hand begging, because we should be able to produce enough to feed the whole of Africa. It's not the whole of America that produces food. The last time we had a presentation from somebody from US, in a small cottage of less than 100 people, they are able to produce enough rice to feed New York. So we don't need the whole of Africa to produce food to feed themselves and feed other African countries. If the AU sets its priorities right and then has a clear policy as to how to strategize in order that countries would be supported to produce enough to be able to feed other countries, I'm sure that we'll be able to produce enough from some parts of Africa and then feed other parts. When you go to Congo now, the water, the fish they have, not in their seas, in their inland water, should be enough to feed almost all of Africa in terms of, they are not able to produce. They are not able to take fish to, and we are talking about food security. So probably we need to, our leaders need to rethink the whole UU concept again. But you see, you have a challenge when the people you have in AU include people like Paul Biya, who in a meeting is even unaware of the meeting he finds himself in. If you have people like Alassana Ouattara and others who are clearly unaware of the system that they are in, then you have the kind of situation you have in Sudan, where you have African countries struggling to feed themselves and have perpetuated themselves in war. Ethiopia may have had challenges with famine. Ghana had challenges with famine in 1983. But that is not the same situation where you have deliberately inflicted famine on yourself and your people because you enjoy more fighting. And the people you are fighting to govern are struggling. They are dying. And you are not thinking about the people. So I feel that AU has failed us. And if we don't deal with the AU thing, then the African Continental Free Trade Area would have no meaning and may not achieve any objective.
Thank you very much, Register, for your submission on this matter. Let me come to Ghana, because we also have our own internal matters that we have to deal with. One of them is the current economic situation. There was a mid-year budget review that was done on the floor of Parliament as required by law by the Finance Minister, Dr. Amin, and he expressed some positive outlook for the future of Ghana's economy. And he has indicated that, you know, the economy is on the right trajectory. We are seeing some levels of improvement, and he is confident that the economy will continue to grow and engender that confidence that people need to go about their businesses. Now, what baffles me, or rather what scares me, is the attributions made that he's attributing the success of the positive outlook of the economy on our fiscal activities, the fact that we've been disciplined, and also makes mention of the successful negotiations with the IMF. But I think we got some $600 million tranche from the IMF and some 2.8, I beg your pardon, billion debt relief from Paris Club and other creditors. So, I mean, he admits that it is this support that has bolstered the reserves and contributed to stabilizing the economy. But goes ahead to, or hasten to add, that we must be careful, because in his estimation, there's the possibility of some global economic fluctuations. And if there's any global economic fluctuations, it may have a devastating effect on the performance of the economy. I mean, I am, Senior, I'm starting with you. I'm worried that we claim that we have made some strides, we've made some progress, right? But yes, you are attributing your progress not to your own internal, events, if I should put it that way, but you are relying on external activities that you have done, which external activities only should augment your internal, events that you have made for the purpose of sustaining the economy. You are now saying that yes, we've made gains, our foreign reserves are looking good, in terms of inflation is coming down, but then you are quick to add that all of these things is not because government has taken some initiatives to heal the ailing economy, but that we only went and we continue with a knee-jerk reaction that we've always been involved with. Senior, I mean, are you as surprised as I am, and are you as worried sick as I am?
No, I'm not worried. I'm not surprised. I'm even more confident that these people must go. Yeah, as in that it is right now a national duty to ensure that they go. Because one, so it's like I propose this thing, that one, the economy has improved. That is improved because he's managed to go and secure. Now the first question, has the economy improved? What's the economy? The economy is what? And the economy is what? The state of a nation in terms of its production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money. That is an economy. So now let's take it one by one. And what's the state of productivity in this country now? What's the state of productivity, and what steps, or what have government done? What have government used as fiscal policy? What has government used as monetary policy to boost productivity? Let's take it one by one. Mm-hmm. Are you able to consume? Are you able to consume? Are you able to spend? Although it's about consumption, it's about spending. Are you able to spend? Because spending can also boost the economy. Are you able to? Is it still not the case that government uses almost more than all the revenue it gets to pay its workers?
Just 3 line
has that changed?
It has not changed.
The evil spread taxation, the evil spread tax, the tax when they came, say what, abolished. So they came to exercise some demons, 70, and then they invited 200 demons. Have they managed to sack those demons again? The demonic taxes, have they sacked them? Have they? What's the interest rate? It's still about 29%. Not so.
Yeah. Even if it had come down to 25% or 24%, it's still.
So what's Anta telling us? You see, I said in my last submission, we need to start being intentional about things. Because what they did yesterday was to do something to represent something. It says you should come and do a media party. So let me go in front of Ghanaians, wear my fugu, show my bag, get my Minister of State in charge of the finance around, flank me, and let me go and tell Ghanaians something. That's what he did. Because when it comes to the state of the economy, we see that, all of us see that in our personal affairs. Do you need I mean, that come into the state of the Ghanaian economy now. And that what they are going to pay some bond. So, like Balotelli said, why should you praise me for doing your obligations? Said that they've allocated some monies to go and pay bondholders. For crying out loud, Jesus Christ!
You put them there.
For crying out loud, Jesus
Put
Christ!
them in that precarious situation.
What have you done to attempt to restore the lack of credibility of this economy? In any case, your own mate said you can do all the propaganda you want. If the exchange rate
The exchange rate will expose you.
the exchange rate will expose you. Today, when you go to the market, $1 is about 15 cedis.
15.6.
Seven. And
Let's go to 7.
A more point. 1 point. 15.7. That's the exchange rate now. 15.7.
That's when you are selling your dollars. But if you are
buying, that's
it's 15.8.
That's so.
No, 17.
So if you are buying
17
if
for
you are
something.
buying, that's what you may see display.
Yeah, that's 17
For the pound is around 20.5. So right now, my Liverpool jersey is under threat.
Seriously, but then you are buying a new one for Anfield.
Yeah, my Liverpool jersey is under threat. You understand? you see, we shouldn't kid ourselves. Clearly, if there's anything that is clear, they are out of their wits in terms of dealing with this issue. Absolutely. Whichever way you want to look at it, they have no idea. They have no clue. And for me, it is clear that if they are failing to be intentional about their job, if they are failing to show any lack of commitment in dealing with economic issues, no matter what the issues or reasons may be, it could be that they are incompetent. You understand? It could be that it is deliberate, like the Japadia would make me want to believe that it's deliberate. Whatever their reasons may be, if they won't be intentional, at least we the people of Ghana need to be intentional. Because what is at stake is the very existence of this country. I'm telling you. What is at stake? Because you see, we are placed in a massive danger if this economy, first of all, lacks credibility. It lacks credibility. This economy lacks credibility, and there was nothing in what he said that at least attempted to restore a modicum of the credibility the economy has lost. Nothing. How much is fuel now? Because you, the vice president, you came to tell us, you came to sell to us the idea of gold for oil. And then the focus of the gold for oil was to deal with that issue. It's a big lie, and I come to that. And so why would they do that? Is it because there was something in for him? And we need to start asking the serious questions. There was something in it for the vice president. Because government is spending its revenue on 3 line items. I bet you majority of homes in this country right now, as in, food takes everything, and that's real economy.
That's a fact. Yeah.
That's real economy. Yeah. Food takes everything.
Yep.
For those of us who have cars and everything, we can drive. Right now, people are what's it called?
Park the car safe.
I want to use the right word. We are doing car sharing, load sharing. You must do load sharing on how you spend your fuel. Because you can't go out every day.
Yep.
You get so those are the nitty-gritties of the economic situation. What in the statement yesterday attempted to solve and also I think it is, I'm not an economist, but it's common sense will tell you that, you see, when you want to build the economy, you deal with the sectors that will bring you revenue. The private sector, SME, you understand? And for you, the government, you use your powers, fiscal, monetary, to create that right environment for private sector to thrive. Your Minister of Trade is attempting at price control. This want to send us back into the abyss. What is government's position on that? Because they are not working. For me, they are not working. They are not working. I've not heard government's position on an important issue like something like antitrust. Because if you are saying that people want to use a cabal to more or less control the market, as in, why are you not speaking about antitrust? Creating an antitrust regime? Or that one can't come in the budget. Because at the end of the day, my understanding of the budget is you are telling us how you're going to use your fiscal policy and all to create the right environment too. So KWAME.
Senior.
For me, not that I've been convinced, I've always been very clear in my mind that these people need to go. I've always been very clear in my mind that these people need to go. Yesterday, what the budget told me clearly was that, as in that right now it is a desperate. We are desperate stages, and they must go. All Ghanaians must take it as a public duty. They must go. They must go and allow somebody who is intentional about building the economy, who realizes that first of all we must create a stable economy. We must put in place policies that will grow the economy. We must create a system where the growth will be sustained so as to make the economy resilient. Then deliberately create prosperity amongst the people of Ghanaians, amongst the indigents. That is how you transform an economy. You understand? A person that has that credibility, that has demonstrated that credibility, that competence, that character, that sense of patriotism, is Honorable Alan Chemanten, and we must vote for him.
All right.
But beyond that, like I'm saying, let us take it as a national duty. A national duty, a call to duty to ensure that these people, they are like I want to, or that we use some word for them. They must go.
All right. A big thank you to you, Lawyer Appiah Dankwa. There are so many nuances to this budget which we ought to disintegrate and discuss. And clearly, I am not one who is interested in figures and percentages. I am interested in what the reality is. And I do recall that when President Kufuor was gunning to become Ghana's president, he used one simple sentence to educate the Ghanaian people about the economic situation in which we found ourselves at the time. And for me, that is telling of whether we have made gains or we have derailed from the trajectory of our economic possibilities. Now, let me come to you, Register. The mid-year budget review serves a certain purpose. Essentially, is to sort of realign, and if there's a possible way out, share those possibilities with us, so that at least the Ghanaian people can have some modicum of comfort, knowing that something is being done about their situation. Unfortunately, from the analysis that has been put forward by Lawyer Appiah Dankwa, it is right, for us all to appreciate that there is no end in sight. And because even in the minister's own presentation, in admitting that there has been some gains, is also in that same admission a certain doubt that growth will be sustainable. So how do we purge? How do we deal with all of these new